this oath or shavua, neder, whatever you want to call it. Chazal may look at it as a neder milchama, although the text used the word shavua. And if he doesn't keep it and kill his son, he's like, striking himself, or we call in English shooting at his own leg, yoreh beraglo, maybe even causing the downfall, the nullification of his own, we call it, the nullification of his own kingdom. Whereas on the other hand, if he listens to what the nation is saying, okay, if he listens to what the nation says, not killing Yonatan, is letting the nation take control. So the question is, who's in control here? And we learn that his kingdom continues, but because the nation redeems. The nation is strong, their decision is strong, and in the language of the Ralbag, the fact that the nation decided, no, we're not going to have Yonatan die, for the obvious reasons that he's the hero of the war, then that's as if the nation is working with God. The end of chapter 14, gentlemen. It's as if the nation is working with God, and that is a success of the nation. And Shaul has to accept it as a fact, succumb to this. And that's called a pidyon, or in the language of the Tanakh, pada b'shalom nafshi. In peace, he redeemed my soul. Ufduyei Hashem yishuvun, and the returners of God shall be returned, shall be salvaged. According to this meaning here, no, the kingdom of Shaul did not fall. Yes, the will of the nation stood up. But maybe his kingdom, suggesting, I didn't say this, maybe his kingdom was saved. That the fact that the nation stood up demanded the life of Yonatan, and it's considered a pidyon. Again, there are other meanings how the pidyon was made, as if ransom money was given, or they found in the laws of shavua or neder, you look for a petach. You go to a beit and you look for an opening. Had you known this and this and that, would you have taken a neder? No. Okay, then the neder is annulled. The vow is annulled. Something like this and more. Okay. On the scoreboard, Shaul is gaining momentum. He has several strikes against him, where he took the kingdom into his own hands by answering in front of the prophet, by what else did we see where he took things into his own hands? He answered before the prophet. He showed excessive humility by not showing up to the process of anointing, and so on and so forth. Here, if we read the last, 6, 7 psukim of this chapter, Memvav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Nun, Nun Aleph, Nun Bet. The last 7 psukim, gentlemen, you see it of this chapter. Some of it is understood, and some of it's not understood. For instance, the fact that Shaul decided now in the middle of the night, after this event with his son and the nation, we don't go after the Plishtim. That's it. That's the end of the war right now. Who won? Am Yisrael won. Who is not totally devastated yet? The Plishtim. The Plishtim are not totally devastated. They had a big balagan, they had a lot of fatalities, but they still living and kicking and living where they are. But now the Torah says something very unique. In Pasuk Mem Zayin, I didn't make a mark of this point yesterday, but I certainly heard it from Rav. Who did I hear it from? Rav, not Kashtiel. No, Rav Druckmann's son-in-law. I heard it from Rav. I just forgot his Rav Uzi Bininfeld. He says this. It says V'Shaul lachada melucha. What does it mean? He captured the kingdom, Al Yisrael. Without any political association, some of you know there's a nationalist party that's supposedly right-wing called the Likud. Right? You see the word here, Likud. What does really Likud mean? Lilaked. What does it mean? It's to bring together. It's to unify. Anachnu mitlakdim, anachnu melukadim. We are unified together. You see that in the word there? Shaul, after this war, apparently does various actions that he is stabilizing his nation, stabilizing his kingdom, bringing together more and more people to support him, behind him, under him. And then we're told maybe how it's done. There could be various skirmishes, military skirmishes, with several of our neighbors, like Moab, on the other side of the Jordan, Ammon also, and Edom going southeast. And then Malchet Tzova, which we said is in Syria. Okay? Not Aram Naraim, but Aram Tzova. There apparently some provinces there. Each province has a king. And Baplishtim. The Torah here, the Tanakh here, does not decide to what? To tell us about specific wars. But inside one old pasuk, we're told that he fights. Meaning he sends an army. He gets an army together, his army, royal army, and he's fighting against the enemies, plus the Plishtim. And then it says a very inclusive term, Uvechol asher yifneh yarshia. Many people ask, what does the word yarshia mean? Certainly you see the root letters what? Resh, Shin, and then Ayin, which is Rasha. In every place that he turns, he's wicked? Or he's causing wickedness? No, it doesn't mean that. Some of you that have already studied Sefer Shmuel and studied about David HaMelech, where it says, Uvechol asher yifneh yaskil. The word yaskil, which has the word intelligence inside it, says that everything that David did, he was successful. But the word yaskil, he was able to bring people together behind him because of ideology of unity, the oneness of God. Yershia here means he was able to instill fear. In everything he did, he instilled fear. Certainly we cannot compare Shaul to David. David's working as a national leader really brought unity. David, as we're going to be learning, God willing, he did things in two levels. First, on a tribal level, by being the leader of the tribe of Judah in Hebron for 7.5 years. And then when his light and his glamour was being revealed to so many, he caught the attention, the support, nationwide. And then he became the king over Israel with the capital, Tel Aviv. Yerushalayim is the capital, I see. So I think we should do the same thing today. It is today. We have to even make it more. Now, Shaul, he instills fear. It's more of a private approach. It's more of, that's his part of his personality, that they can instill fear both in the nation, both in the enemies, and he's matzliach, he's successful in this matter. But that's his approach. That's not the ultimate approach. He instilled fear when he cut up the animal and sent it all over the country, causing a compulsory enlistment. That is the level of Shaul. He's matzliach, but on a private level, that he's causing fear, panicking all over. Now, one more important pasuk, Memchet. Let's see it again. Vayas Chayil is a man of valor. Can you move to your southerly direction? Thank you. Vayas Chayil. Chayil meaning he has a standing army. He's collecting an army. Vayachet Amalek. Again, no details is it just a skirmish, a war? But we're learning that he's hitting Amalek. Where is Amalek? We're going to learn now in the next chapter. They're in southern Israel. They're in the Negev or some other places. Vayatzel et Yisrael miyad shosehu. Apparently, Amalek is an entity that strives on causing economic injury, economic damage. They're going into our fields, into our farms, and they're causing us a lot of loss and troubles. And who is saving us from this? Shaul. So you look at the roster, you look at the lineup here. Right now, I forgot to bring a map, but right now we're looking at the map of Israel. And if we're looking north to Aram Tzova, Syria, and we're looking east, Ammon and Moab, and we're looking southeast to Edom, and we're looking southwest, thank you, to Amalek. Show it to everyone, please. It seems right now that all of our neighbors, if we had skirmishes with them, we're in good shape. Why is this told? This is going to be a prelude to the beginning of the next chapter. If everything is okie dokie, meaning Amalek, we're winning over wars here, Edom, south of here, Ammon and Moab, and Sova, Syria. It seems that his standing army, he's collecting a larger and larger army, he's getting more support. No, he's not yet getting the support that we're going to learn about David will be getting. But it seems right now he's bolstering his kingdom. That's what it says when we talked about the verb v'sha'ul lacha, the word likud. He's consolidating the forces. He's getting more and more support. From here until the end of the chapter, I lift up my hands and I say, I don't know what's going on here. What is the importance? We're told about Shaul's family, Yonatan, Yeshvi, Malkishua, his two daughters, his two daughters, Meirav and Michal, his wife called, what's her name? Achinoam. His military leader, minister is called Aviner ben Ner. Ner is the uncle of Shaul, so maybe it's the first cousin. And Kish, we know, is his father. I don't understand right now. B'li neder, I'm going to look into it and try to understand on a larger scale, what is it doing here? What do we have to know about this here? What is this, This is not a novel written by George Orwell, is it? Is it?
I don't think he was around.
Oh, he's not around. So what's the importance for us? So I'll try to look into this for next time. The ending of the chapter, Nun Bet, verse 52, Fatia milchama chazaka plishtim, kol yemei Shaul. For the years that he's ruling, the skirmishes, the conflict against Plishtim in southwestern Israel continues, right? We just learned about in this chapter the first national war ever between Israel and the Plishtim. The Plishtim have been living here since the time of Avram Avinu, right? In southwestern Israel. And here in this Sefer, after we're living in the land for close to 400 years, there's never been a national war. Do you remember what happened in the time of the Shoftim? Who was rocking the boat against the Plishtim? Shimshon. They're controlling us. And Shimshon says, Ma pitom? What's going on here? And he causes them economic havoc and damage and killing and this and that. And the tribe of Judah says, what are you doing? Well, you're rocking the boat. You're igniting the Middle East. We can't fight up against the what? The Plishtim. And even fellow Jews of the tribe of Judah were willing what? To catch him and hand him over. What is that called in English? What? Betraying.
Treachery.
Treachery, it's called? No, it's not treachery. There's a better word. Treason. I think the word is treason, right? Handing over a fellow member to the enemy. I think it's called treason. It's like a capital offense, isn't it? That was to show you how low we were in the last 200 years before Shaul. 100 years before Shaul, perhaps. I don't know exactly. Okay? Fellow Jews were willing to hand over this guy Shimshon because he's causing problems with the Plishtim. And now, at the end of the chapter, we're learning, as long as Shaul is king, the clashes against the Plishtim even become stronger. And he sees success in this. End of chapter 14. What is the national barometer telling us? There's national consolidation. There's national unity behind Shaul. And now we begin Perek Tetvav, shall we call it, a very crucial chapter that will decide if Shaul will continue or not. Perek Pasuk Aleph. Vayomer Shmuel el Shaul, the prophet, comes to the king and says the following: Oti shalach Adonai limshochacha lemelech alamo al Yisrael ve'ata shema lekol divrei Adonai. There's a national mission that the king will be asked to do, and the mission is going to be brought to him onto his plate, onto his doorstep by the prophet. And the fact that he is the king, although it says that he was anointed as Melech Alamo Yisrael. Therefore, the following commandment is now relevant. Gentlemen, we're about to see the mitzvah, Shaul to be commanded by God through the prophet to go up to war against Amalek. Let's read it. Pasuk Bet. The communique, the vision is brought now to the king. Ko Amar Adonai Tzevaot. Pakadati. Eit asher asa Amalek li Yisrael. Asher samlo baderech. Ba'aloto mi Mitzrayim. Pasuk Gimel. Ata, now. Lech. Vikita. Go and smite. Et Amalek. Vacharamtem. Et kol asher lo. Meaning, destroy everything that he has. Velo tachmol alav, and do not have compassion on him, mercy on him. Veimata, and kill. Meish adisha. Me'olel ve'adionek. From a person nursing to a person sucking the milk of his mother. Mishor ve'atzeh, even in their livestock. Migamal ve'at chamor, limousines and trucks and everything involved. Why? Why is it needed now to send a prophet from God to the king to do this? Is the war of Amalek not a mitzvah of the Taryag mitzvot, the 613 mitzvot? Of course it is. Everyone open up and tell me where you find the mitzvah of fighting up Amalek. Where is it found? Very good. Chumash? Devarim, the book of Devarim. Please find it in your Chumash. Thomas, this gentleman is looking. Chumash Devarim. And you're saying at the end of Parshat Ki Teitzei, wow, your bikiyut in Chumash is fantastic. Right? At the end of chapter 25. The end of Ki Teitzei. You see at the end of chapter 25, the last 3 psukim of Parshat Ki Teitzei. Chumash Devarim. Deuteronomy. You're in Vayikra. Deuteronomy. Okay? It says, Zachor et asher asa lech Amalek. Remember what he did to you, Amalek. When? Baderech b'tzeitchem mi Mitzrayim, on the road when you were leaving Mitzrayim. Asher karcha baderech, he just happened to come on the road for no reason, meaning you were not, there was no, what is it called, BDS, this, economic rifts, there was no arguments, this or that. The end of chapter 25. Kaf, hey, you're in Kaf Tet. That's how you identify where the parak is. You see it? Look at the end of Kaf Hey. Okay? And what happened? Vayizanei becha. He went to the rear. Against all your weaklings. Ve'ata, and you, you're very fatigued and tired. Ve'lo yer Elokim. And Amalek is not someone that has fear of God. Vaya. Here's the command. And it'll be. When God leaves you, meaning when God your Lord leaves you from all your enemies misaviv around you, when there are no more wars against you by your closest enemies. Ba'aretz Hashem Elokecha, of course we're talking about the land that God gave you. Timche, you shall erase et zecher Amalek. You see it? You shall erase the remembrance of Amalek. What does it mean? Men, women, children, animals, even your Hanes underwear that says made by Amalek Incorporated. I'm sorry, Fruit of the Loom. Even all your Fruit of the Loom underwear that says made by Amalek. What? Yeah, sure, has to be destroyed. I'm talking about if it would, Fruit of the Loom was be produced by Amalek. Okay, now, this is the commandment. my dear friends, if we open up the Rambam, and I meant to really bring a source page, and I left it so far away downstairs in my office, so for tomorrow, God willing, I'll bring it to you. The Rambam from the Gemara brings us the famous Talmudic statement that when the Jewish people go into the land, we are committed to perform 3 public national mitzvot. The first one is to appoint a king. The second one is to wipe out the seed of Amalek and then build the Beit HaMikdash. If I'm not mistaken, if that's not the order. Am Yisrael is a king for the first time after close to 400 years of our existence in the land. However, what are the terms of going to war against Amalek? Peace in and around our neighbors. Peace meaning they're no longer fighting us. What did the Tanakh bother to tell us now? What happens during the time of Shaul? What happens with regards to all our neighbors? They're no longer at war with us. Shaul stood up with any skirmishes or conflicts or wars and did what had to be done. Right now, we are, sitting under the fig tree and eating figs, sitting under the grape trees and eating grapes. It seems like, we're in a good situation nationally. Now, this is what Hashem sees, and therefore He sends Shmuel. He sends Shaul for the first time. A national entity of the Jewish people is commanded to go out and initiate a war against Amalek. But look how it's worded between Shaul and from Shmuel to Shaul. Here, because you're a king, there's a national matter to go to war. And because the end of the last chapter was that we are freed of the enemies around us, now is the time to go up against Amalek. Remember, it said regarding Amalek, Velo Yarei Elokim. He has no fear of God. Amalek is the equality of mikra. Everything's incidental. Everything is haphazard. Everything is not meant or managed by God. They are diametrically the opposite of what the Jewish people stand for. Therefore, when the Jewish people came out of Mitzrayim and they attacked us, there were no economic reasons to attack us. There were no military reasons to attack us. There were no territorial differences between Amalek and us. So why did they attack us? Because we're carrying a banner. The good of the world, the oneness, the unity of God in the world. That there's a divine plan to the world. That they do not accept. Velo Yarei Elokim. Now, the terms of our national situation are, we have a king, we have peace, we've done what we had to do to the neighbors in and around us, and now you're going to be tested. You as a king right now are going to be tested because you are anointed as a king. Now you have a national royal mitzvah to lead the nation. Okay? Rabbi Gon often says when he teaches this section, it's a mitzvah upon the king, as the Rambam brings it in the laws of kings, the 3 mitzvot upon the Jewish people. But he says, you see in Amaleki and Rehova Meiri, you just don't take out your revolver and go pow pow and kill him. That's what Rabbi God would explain. Well, it's not your mitzvah. It's a mitzvah of the king. It's a national mitzvah. It's not an individual matter where you set up a defense league and you start taking the law into your own hands and doing. No. It's not that. It's a national mitzvah. And therefore, Shaul, being a king, if he's successful doing this, his kingdom may last. If he's not, then he's going to be sinning. He's going to be doing an injustice to God and the world because he's not going to be fulfilling his royal obligation. And as we're going to see, I don't have to break the suspense to any one of you. You all know that he doesn't do the job. And as a result, what will be taken away from him? His kingdom. Because this is a mitzvah of the kingdom. And therefore, The fact that the prophet says, "Oh, God sent me to anoint you on the nation," meaning the mitzvah that we're about to be doing is stemming, nurturing from the fact that you are the king. And just like I was sent to anoint you, okay, right now I'm sent to you because you're the king. I'm telling you, this is the mitzvah that you have to do. Okay? So it's very, very clear. Now, a very important thing regarding kingdoms. When we came out of Egypt and we went through the splitting of the sea, what did the nation declare about the kingdom of the world? They said, Hashem Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. What is the correlation between his kingdom and our kingdom? Aren't we saying also that he's ruling the world? Of course he is. But we believe that when the time is right for the Jewish people to have a kingdom, if this is the will of the nation like it is now, then Hashem Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed, he's the almighty kingdom. And he gives us, or delegates us, merits, powers, the ability to rule over the land of Israel, over anyone else, and we are representing God. I know that right now, what is on the ledge right now is God's kingdom. We realize, even though we have King Shaul, but he is the almighty, the ultimate king in the world. If he wants, we're going to do it. If we make a fatal mistake and don't do what we're supposed to do, then we're going to have to pay the price, or Shaul, will have to pay the price. Did you notice the subtleness of the verbs that the prophet uses to go out and kill Amalek? Or are you saying, well, Menachem Listman, if you're killing, you're killing. How can you be subtle, or how can you be more severe? Look at in verse 3. Lech v'kita et Amalek lahakot. Lahakot is lahakot is to hit.
To hear.
V'charamtem, and destroy their properties. V'heimata, and cause the death. Me'ish adisha. Why am I using this term? Subtle. I remember, it's probably a midrash. I saw it from one of the great Tanakh teachers of this past generation, Rav Yeshua Bachrach, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. He was a very big educator. Do you remember the plight of Haman Rasha? Okay. What did he want to do? And where is it told to us? In which Sefer? Megillat Esther. When he comes forth and he wants to do what he wants to do to the Jewish people, anyone remember the wording he uses? Can you find the wording, please? Where am I going to find Megillat Esther, gentlemen? Ketuvim, thank you, very good. In the Ketuvim. The scriptures, not the prophets. Kohelet, Echa, Esther. Okay? Can you find which parak are you looking at, sir? Parak Bet.
Gimel. Sorry. Gimel. Parak Gimel.
Parak Gimel, you're saying now. Okay. Okay. You found it exactly. Kol hakavod to you, Dor Moshe. Vayevakesh Haman. And we're reading chapter 3, verse 6. Haman requested, notice the words, Lahashmid et kol hayudim, to destroy all of them. But that's not really... look at verse 13. He sends out books, decrees, okay, to all the kingdoms. How many states is Achashverosh ruling over? Okay, he's ruling, it'll be at the end. 127 states. Ken? Mishlei, Root, Kohelet, Esther. Parak Gimel, verse 30. Look at the words. What is he asking to do? Lashmid. Laharog is to murder. La'abed is to destroy. At all the Jews. Minar v'adzakein, young ones until elderly people. Taf, children. Nashim, women. Biyom echad. Do you see the lack of subtlety here? Lahashmid. Laharog ula'abed. Compare that to the so-called subtle words of Shmuel to Shaul regarding Amalek. Lahakot, lachrim, we don't see the words lashmid laharog. I know you could argue and say, well, dying is dying. But the way, the vernacular that's used here is much more adin, much more delicate than the words here, because they're bloodthirsty to kill us. Here we have a mitzvah of God to wipe them out. More subtle words are used, so that's a very important point. Okay, let's see. What does he do? Pasuk Dalid. Now, what do you need to go to war? An army.
Weapons.
And as for organization or weapons, and are interesting, if we have already got control of the metal factory that the Plishtim have a monopoly over, maybe we have, but the Tanakh doesn't bother telling us. It could be. So you need an army and weapons. What do you need as far as the army is concerned, in addition to weapons?
Leader.
A leader. What else? What does a leader have to know? Strategy. What else does a leader have to know? Not only strategy, it's to know who he has. Who's on first, How does he divide them? So you have to start to know what? A number. What problem do we have halachically as far as numbering our army? What problem do we have?
Count the heads.
We're not allowed to count heads. As it says in the book of Shmot, Parshat Ki, Tisa, chapter 32, approximately 31, I forgot, I'm not sure, or maybe 30 even. So how do we overcome the problem? Because each and every Jew is a world. He's not a number. Okay?
The way they do it, Mr. Barzel, and they go 1, 2.
That could be, but they didn't do that here.
You're not allowed to do that?
So we can count half shekels. Look what they do over here. Pasuk Daled, let's see what Shaul has done. Vayishama Shaul et ha'am. He makes the declaration. He calls for a enlistment of forces. Vayifkedem, and he counts them batlaim. Several meanings of the word tlaim. One could mean a place that he's counting them. Lifkod, mifaked, right? Pikuda is an order, right? He's counting them. One meaning is in a place called tlaim. But another meaning is, what is a taleh? Meh. A little lamb is a taleh. Tet, lamed, hey. Here it's written with an aleph in the plural. Every man will bring a taleh, a little shepsala, a little lamb, okay? And he'll count them. How many were counted? 200,000 ragli, v'aseret alafim et ish Yehuda. Again, we see the distinction between the tribes and the tribe of Yehuda, which is the tribe of might, authority, the tribe of valor. 210,000 forces. Wow, that's really special. Okay, 210,000 forces. Now, where does everyone look? There are no urban people there. Where does someone get it? Shaul has the biggest farm of everyone. It's the royal farm. He has like almost an endless number of sheep. He put available all the sheep needed. You're a soldier? Come to my pen and take one of my lambs. Everyone took a lamb. We ordered an accounting firm to count all the lambs, and they counted all the lambs from the farm of Shaul HaMelech. 210,000. Your question, sir?
Why does it say 200,000 ragli ve'esret elafim et ish Yehuda? What is it like? What does it say?
Okay, so
And then ish?
maybe we have an answer as far as why is infantry term is used here. What did we learn until now? Who has control of the metal industry in the land of the Plishtim? We don't have the ability to produce the chariots, which in Hebrew is called a Merkava, right? The historical tank of this time is the Merkava. We can't produce it because the Plishtim have a monopoly over it. So maybe that's the reason why Ragli, which is Chel Raglayim, the infantry is used. And then Ish Yehuda, maybe a good point, a question that you're asking, I would say that they're perhaps the most important tribe. And so when the term Ish or Anashim is used in Tanakh, it's related to those that are important. They're separately counted because they are important. They're the tribe of the future, royalty of the Jewish people, the fighters of the Jewish people. Maybe that's the difference in term. Okay. Now, what should... Here's Shaul. Right, we're putting him on the what? On the spot. You're Shaul. The Plishtim are there in the Negev somewhere. What do? There you go. Chaval that he wasn't appointed. What does Shaul do? Pasuk Hey. Vayavo Shaul ad Ir Amalek. Some say it's down south. The city of Amalek is down south. And he doesn't attack. What does he do instead? Vayarev Banachal. Would you please get off my land? Thank you. Again, I'm telling you, please get off my land. Day after day. And then they start getting into a quarrel. A meriva. In other words, Shaul did not go and fight. Rather, he looked for, what is it called, an alibi? Is that the term? What's an alibi?
That's like an excuse where you were.
He's looking for an excuse to fight. He instigates a territorial conflict that hopefully will turn into fisticuffs. Right? I know I get you awake. Right? So here already is the beginning of the failure. As you noticed, we introduced you to the pseudo King Shaul, Mr. Chaim Aronson, and he knows that if he's commanded from a Torah mitzvah to fight, he has to send the soldiers to start shooting at them. But he doesn't do it. What does he do instead? He's looking for a fight. He's looking for a quarrel. Shaul goes down to a Nachal area, a brook, a river area, and he starts sending, some quick lawyers, shifty, nifty lawyers with some documents, and says, this land is our land. This land is our land. This land is my land. And it's not California, right? And he starts saying that. And what do the Amalekians say? Go take a walk. Get out of here. And then he sends another lawyer's document. And all of this is heating up. What's happening next to the area? Pasuk Vav. Vayomer Shaul el Hakeni. Excuse me, who? Hakeni. Is that a term for muktzah? What's Keni?
A nation that was next to Amalek.
There's a nation here, or people or group living next to Amalek there in southern Israel. And where are they from?
Yitro.
They're Bnei Yitro. Oh. Descendants of Yitro. Yitro was the father-in-law of Moshe. Wow. His descendants. Did they cross the Jordan River?
Well, they did.
They crossed the Jordan River and were even issued, what's that city of dates called? Yericho. They were issued a very fertile, a very greeny, watery area, Yericho, right? Down below in the Jordan Valley. And after, a few generations, they said, we're not interested in the casino, in the greeny area.
They went down to...
They didn't go down, they went up to the Judean desert. They went to the Midbar Yehuda. They said, we want to be learning Torah, man. We're willing to live in a caravan in the Judean desert. We're not interested in the good conditions down there. Gesundheit, live real to their health, and they moved there. In between then and now, some of them are still living in southern Israel, and they happen to be neighbors of
Amalek.
Would you be neighbors of Amalek?
No, it'd be kind of tough.
So maybe these Katie people are tough. So here we are. They are living in the Midbar Yehuda. Some say exactly. The Talmud says there. Do you know, gentlemen, where the town of Arad is? Arad?
Yes.
Yes, you know where?
It's near
It's the Bach of...
No, it's by the Bach Sanchanim.
Right.
It's by there.
No, Bach Sanchanim is by Shomriah.
Yes, and the sign outside is if you go right, it's Arad.
you have to go all the way around.
There's a sign outside the Bach.
My son's in Sanchanim. It's next to Shomriah. It's on the western side of the country. Arad is the eastern side. It's just over the dead. If you know where Arad is? It's just above all that phosphate industries, isn't it? All the down below. Right. It's above the. Anyway, do you know where Arad is?
I know where the phosphate factories are.
Okay, so above it, inside the mountains, is a Negev town, a Judean desert town, called little city called Arad. Yes? So they're in the Negev of Arad, and they went there, in the book of Shoftim we learn about it, in order to learn Torah. In order to learn Torah. I'm just remembering from one son that did his army service with the Shayetet, and they were there with which group? The Shayetet.
When?
The Naval Command Unit. My son was in the Naval Command Unit for the beginning, and they were together with. No. With no. They were with some infantry unit. It was not the Tzanchanim, was it?
Maybe.
I just forgot with which group that they did their initial training together. I just forgot which.
It's a 40-minute drive.
So it's not close. And by walking, it'll be like 4 hours, 5 hours to cross the country. Okay.
Not too far.
But there's a different Bach there. I forgot which. I'm sorry. It just left my mind. In Tel Arad. Oh, it's Nachal. It's very good. The Nachal Infantry Force is together. I don't know if they're still together, but they were there with and the Nachal Force was known to be a very secular unit. And it was Tisha B'Av. And my son was fasting, and they gave him rights just to sit in the tent on Tisha B'Av. And some of his friends, and he was fasting, it was Tisha B'Av. They let him not be active that day. And some of his friends in the Nachal, and they said, are you okay? It's dead. Are you okay? You're fasting? They never met, religious Jews that were fasting on Tisha B'Av or so. So they didn't know how to treat it. Are you okay? Should we get you something? I'm coming to his tent. That's what he told me. Gentlemen, the problem is that if Shaul and the army attacks, and we have Keni, Aleph, they're Jews, Bet, they could have converted. And they wanted to learn Torah, so they could be considered Jews. If they're not Jews, they're certainly B'nai Noach, keeping Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach. They're an ally of the Jewish people, but I think they may even be Jews. And if that is the case, how do we shoot at Amalek if the neighbors are the Keni? Let's see what the king says to them. Vayomer Shaul el Keni, Lechu, get out of here. Suru, Redu. How many verbs in the imperative? Lechu, Suru, Redu. 3 verbs there. Get out of here. Get down from here, Mitoch Amaleki. Why? Pen osifcha imo. Because if you're not going to get out of here, what's going to happen to you? I'm going to add it to you. You're going to be on the casualty list. We don't want that. Why not? Ve'ata, you, the Kenim, asita chesed im kol b'nei Yisrael. You guys, historically, we remember you did kindness with the Jewish people. Ba'alotami Mitzrayim. We came out of Mitzrayim. Excuse me? What did they do? What is the chesed that they did? Tell us. Very good. Yitro, even before many say that he converted, he gave practical advice. What happened in the French Revolution and other places, what's called a division of labor. He says, you just can't stand out there in your office from the morning until the night. You're going to wither away. You have to set up a system, a judicial branch of lower courts, middle courts, and higher courts. Was Moshe Rabbeinu allowed to listen to a non-Jew?
You got the Shem, no?
Isn't his Torah?
It's only 11 guys.
Wisdom we can take from the nations, but not the Torah.
Oh, beautiful.
I don't know where you're going.
The Talmud says, Torah bagoyim, al ta'amin. Chochma bagoyim, ta'amin. Torah, values, the difference between good and bad, we're not going to learn from the Gentiles, from the nations of the world. But you see this Subaru company over here? You see the Seiko watch industry over here? You know what I'm talking about. They make good watches and they make good cars. Yes, you can buy cars from the Subaru that use their technology, their wisdom, how to operate cars. Well, look at that Audi car, Bavarian Motorworks. You know what Bavarian motorworks are?
Mercedes, you can get
What is that, Audi?
BMW.
BMW.
no, you can't.
It's a cheap car, nachon? Oh, it's not a cheap car. Right?
DMV in Israel.
They make great cars. Okay? You buy a Volvo, it can last you, 20, 30 years. Am I right or not? Do you know about them?
I don't know if you're allowed to buy it though.
What?
I don't know. Not kosher.
Okay, in any event, the point is, what Yitro suggested to Moshe Rabbeinu is not related to Torah. It's related to wisdom of life, division of labor, how to promote a judicial system by dividing courts. And therefore, that was one important thing. Another important thing that Yitro and his descendants did, apparently. Moshe Rabbeinu asked her top instructors how to hike and manage in a desert area. Because apparently the Kenim themselves were somewhere in the Saudi Arabian desert. They're experts how to survive, how to hike, how to manage in the desert area. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, Vayita lanu le'einayim. You'll be for us tour guides, mored derech, how to work, how to go there. It's not clear exactly if Yitro left that point, Moshe Rabbeinu, or not. We don't see a decision. But you know what? We're a nation that remembers. And this entity did goodness with us. We don't forget it. We have many mitzvot that are related to Zachor, right? We're a nation that remembers. Because we're a nation that remembers, we're thankful for gratitude. Whereas King David says in the book of Tehillim, by large, the nations of the world are Shechechei Elohim. The forgetters of God, meaning the forgetters of goodness. If favors were done to them by large, they often forget. Don't take heed to that. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule. But right now, the order of Shaul is get out of here. We don't want to hurt you because we have a lot to thank you when we came out of Mitzrayim. And what do? Vayasar Keni mitoch Amalek. They get out of the area and now they appoint Dor Moshe, put up signs. This is a firing zone. No one to enter in.
How do you know that the judge system is wisdom and not, like, how do you know it's inherently a good thing?
Okay, because it's a good question you're asking. And I want to say the following.
What system?
Judge system that you
God commanded at Sinai, Shoftim v'Shotrim. There cannot be a city, there cannot be a tribe without a justice system. To the extent that this is even a Noachite law. How you do it, how many, which towns, it's up to you. One large court, one small court, you have to decide. At that moment, it was told to us literally in the Torah that Moshe's reception hours from the morning until the night, that's a tough, wow, do you see the line of people that want to bring litigation over here? Such a long line, people waiting online. You know Israelis, they start getting, they start putting on their horns. No, come on, get going. This is related to the practical side of life.
So since it was already commanded.
The mitzvah to have a judicial system was commanded. How much and how to do it? We need wise advisors. And Moshe was doing all the work by himself. Comes Yitro, brilliant idea of division of labor, and Moshe Rabbeinu adopts it. We're going to learn, and we'll end with this point right here now, that the children of Yaakov Avinu, after Dinah being raped, and justice not happening to the rapist, then they put on a strategy how to outwit Hamor, father of Shechem, and how to outwit these Canaanites living there in the Shomron area. And they tricked them, and what did they do? They killed all the males after they tricked them into doing a circumcision, as we read in the Parsha. And on day number 3, when they were weak, after the 3rd day of this surgical circumcision, they were tricked by the sons of Yaakov, and they were all put to death by the sons of Yaakov. And Yaakov didn't like it. He says, "You're rocking the boat, man." Rambam, the great intellectualist, middle of the road scholar. How does he explain this event? He explains that one of the Noachite laws is to set up a judicial system. Now, the negative commandments of the Noachite laws, like not stealing, not murdering, not committing adultery, and so on, everyone agrees in the Talmud that it's punishable by death. What about the positive mitzvot of the Noachite laws, which one of them is setting up a judicial system? The Rambam holds, I think, not with the majority of the Rishonim, but with those Rishonim that say, even if they do not maintain a positive mitzvah of the Noachite laws, it too would be obligated by death, justifying what Bnei Yaakov did to the people in Shem. We'll continue with this point.